All right, this is Infosec Decoded, number 70, Mr. Fission. And I was very interested to read this Twitter thread, which was then written up by the Register from Gossie the dog, who worked at Microsoft and brought out something I'd seen, but he really has chapter and verse, which is that the malware is sitting on Microsoft servers. And the stuff that's not on Microsoft servers is on Google servers. And why don't either of them do anything about it? And it's all on OneDrive. And he says, like, most of the top 10 command and control centers and malware hosting are just sitting there right on the Microsoft servers. And when you send in reports, the stuff at abuse.ch, I've been just writing this up for my incident response class, the live threat intelligence feeds tell you about the threats that are infecting you, and they all phone home to stuff living in OneDrive on the Microsoft server, often with just a onedrive.com URL, just right there. And they tell Microsoft, and Microsoft doesn't do anything about it. And so he really posted a series of tweets explaining how they're totally ignoring it. And by the end of this, after about a week, he humiliated Microsoft into fixing it. So this is the same thing, it motivates all people in the sort of white hat community. Is public humiliation is what makes people move. So anyway, it's pretty impressive. And now Nini has a nice chart here from abuse.ch, the source of the threat intelligence, where they say, well, the number one source of malware hosting is Google. Google is like 1,000. Discord is 300. I think there's OneDrive. I think that's Microsoft is 100, and then it's Slack, and then it's Pastebin. So anyway, but they say Google is more responsive to takedown requests. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. You would think, Apple wanted to get all the child porn off your phone because they want to clean up their service. These other people have got some cleaning up to do too, and they don't seem to be doing it. Anyway, it's a very interesting report. And then Liz has got face recognition.
Yeah, so let's train our AI early news. They are implementing facial recognition systems in the UK for children to be able to collect their school lunches. So what could go wrong?
That sounds like a real life or death reason to invade your privacy.
Yeah, and especially children who can't opt out of this.
Yeah.
They do require their parent, or I don't know if it's a requirement or if they've just been surveying parents, but they said that 97% of children or their parents have given consent for the new system, which
when I was a kid, there was just a line and somebody there with a ladle of slop, and they didn't even count you or make sure who you are or anything. How many people are breaking in to get their plate of slop?
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're serving kids anything expensive or delicious. So
I know. I mean, why do you need like military security making sure that you're the right kid getting your plate of slop?
I don't know. I guess it's better than I think that this is pretty absurd. And I think it's also pretty interesting in that quite a few schools have tried to implement this for other stupid reasons, like taking attendance, and gotten banned for doing, they've sensibly banned that practice. You don't know what these companies do with the data sets they have either, and what better way to train your data set from cradle to grave than implementing this in elementary schools and nursery schools.
Well, there was an earlier version of it I heard about in Japan, and they implemented it briefly in Los Angeles, where they make the kids wear an RFID tag, and they have sensors by the door, so they know if you wander out of the room, out of the building, and go out and get in trouble. And that kind of made some sense. Yeah. I mean, they kind of expect you to like keep their kid on, not let their kid wander off and go get hit by a truck and smoke crack and stuff. That's kind of part of the job.
The RFID tag's a little more innocuous because you're not collecting and training in a data and then using it to train a data set for machine learning. I mean,
making sure that you're actually still physically on the grounds is a somewhat reasonable thing.
Sure, I feel like that's not a real big deal, but this may not be the best. This may not be the best system.
Yeah, I think so. All right. And this is the one that Kaitlyn had, which I thought is awesome. Mr. Fission.
Mr. Fission, yes, Mr. Fission is coming.
Yeah.
So New Atlas has a story by Laws Blaine, and it's unfortunately a little light on details. I really want to know what's going on with this thing. But apparently there's this startup using some tech in California. Yes, there's a startup from California wanting to put these portable nuclear generators on the market, and they're supposed to replace diesel generators. And the idea, I guess, behind this was that some people in aerospace were looking at power sources for things like Mars missions, things like moon missions, where you don't have the luxury of fossil fuels, that you can take with you. You need a power source. And they were looking at nuclear, and they thought, hey, what would be really good in everyone's backyard?
Yeah.
A fission generator. And
imagine if you're like in Texas and the power goes out and you run out of diesel and you say, damn, what if I could just have my own nuke? That would be awesome.
Exactly. And so this is what this company is doing. This is not a fusion reactor. This is a fission generator. So this is going to use uranium or some sort of fissionable material. And as far as I can tell, it's producing way too much power to be a thermoelectric generator. So on a lot of spacecraft, they essentially just put a big blob of plutonium in the center and have the heat radiate from that essentially, and then they turn the heat from that into little bits of power, but it's not a whole lot. And based on the fact that they're claiming that this can power like 1,000 homes, this is real nuclear reactions going on. Supposedly the thing is cooled by helium and not water, and that's supposed to make me feel safer for some reason. And they claim it can't melt down, and maybe it can't. So you do need a kind of a large amount of fissionable material for meltdown to occur. But yeah, this is the idea, is that you'll replace your diesel generator with a small nuclear reactor, which, by the way, you will need to refuel every few years. So have fun with that.
But I mean, you get a Tesla truck, and then you put this in the back seat, and you've got a hot rod from hell.
and if there's a problem with it, the helium will help it float away up in the air.
There you go.
Questions that I have include.
Don't think about it, Liz. Just don't think about it. Just buy, Liz.
I think this is awesome.
When you need to refill your portable nuclear reactor, I wonder where you go to top it off with plutonium.
Well, you drive into the flower and feed store and you trade it in for a fresh one.
I wonder how much it's going to cost. It says it's low cost. I wonder what that means.
Well, to be fair, it's not for individuals. It's enough power for like 10,000 homes. So your town would buy it. But I think totally your town in Texas would totally want to buy one.
Yeah, in fact, this was the initial idea that Edison had for doing the electric grid, where instead of having a centralized power producing facility, every block would have its own little power generator, and the power would just go from one block to the next block to the next block. And with these little portable nuclear generators, you could totally do that. Or better yet, you know what it's going to be used for? You're going to start mining Bitcoin with nuclear power.
Of course. I mean, now it's only 1,000 homes worth of power, and it fits in a shipping container. You really could like hot rod something with this, like
absolutely.
A truck.
Yes. Yeah. You could run an entire, like one of those like bank trucks, and just fill it up with GPUs and have at it.
Yeah.
I wonder what is going to happen to the spent material.
Don't think about it, Liz.
Well, it's just like a battery. You just bury it in a landfill, I guess, right?
Put it on a spaceship and send it to the sun.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
That has been proposed before. What's really interesting is that it is really hard to hit the sun. Really hard. You cannot just like send something into space and then have it hit the sun, because once it's in space, it's orbiting the sun.
Yeah.
You have to essentially have the orbital speed drop to about 0. And it can't even be like 1 kilometer per hour, because even that is enough to have it swoop around the sun. I mean, it has to be like dead zero.
It would be much cheaper to just escape entirely, right?
Yeah, it'd be cheaper just to send it off into interstellar space.
then there'll be somebody out there. All right, who are these idiots? She keeps slinging nuclear waste at us.
Yeah, it's Alpha Centauri's problem.
Well, there's actually these stars spewing nuclear waste all over the place anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And besides, we figured out from Fermi, there's nobody out there but blue-green algae, so no one's going to care.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so Irvin's got Loftcrack.
Loftcrack is going open source after after a while. It's been around for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. I thought it always was open source. But
It was bought, and then that fell through. So then the creators just said, you know what? Forget this. We're just going to put this out to the world.
I thought it only worked on older versions of Windows anyway. Does it still work?
It worked. Well, see, the older one was the one that was publicly available.
Oh, okay.
That's the one we were stuck with, because the commercial one was able to do everything else.
So can it steal passwords off the wire and reverse the hashes with Rainbow Table?
I don't know if it can steal them off the wire, but it can work on Active Directory. It can work on Linux, BSD, Solaris, AIX.
So how does it compare with like the other hash cracking products?
Hashcat?
Which one?
Hashcat?
Yeah, Hashcat. It's essentially the same thing as Hashcat, right?
Essentially, this one has a GUI.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah. So they're ending all the licensing. They're making it all free. So yay. We have another tool to play with.
I mean, it was huge 20 years ago. It was a huge hacking accomplishment. You know, it sort of opened up the whole world of like hash cracking, but I don't hear that much about it anymore. I don't know if it's really still the cutting edge product.
Yeah, we'll see when everything is open source, people start contributing to it.
Yeah, that's true. All right. And so anyway, China has so many 0 days, they're just throwing them on the ground. They've got their equivalent of pwn to own, and they paid $1 million out for exploits. And they have a new law in China that if you find a 0 day, you cannot tell anybody except the company, so they can patch it, but outside China, but you have to tell the Chinese military so they can use it. And they had their contest and they cracked everything. They cracked iOS, Chrome, Windows, and VMware, and earned $2 million doing it with Chinese internal teams. Like I say, there's a really thriving security hacking community in China. And they're increasingly sort of out of reach and hidden behind the new isolationism going on over there, and increasing hostility between them and us. So, you know, this may not really be a good thing that they're just rolling in 0 days over there. They got piles of them. But I'd say it's a fair bet that China can just hack anything anytime, and there's not much you can do about it.
But I mean, if you think about it, they've been making a real concerted effort to build up this capability while we have not.
Well, I think we're pretty good at attack too. But I think, anyway, this is why I think we've all moved into instant response now. We've just accepted that people are going to get in, and you have to fight them once they're in.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that they're getting hammered on constantly also.
Oh, I think it's still true that we are the #1 offenders in cyberspace, which has always been China's defense. And they say, you hacked us. They're like, you hacked us. What are you talking about? You hacked us 10 times more, you big meanies. And I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. And so NFTs, boy, this is what we need is NFTs.
Yeah, well, you know, as if they weren't obnoxious enough. Now they come with new features. So be careful, you NFT enthusiasts out there. Your NFT may come packed with free malware.
That's actually pretty awesome. You can hide code in an NFT?
Yeah, apparently so, which I didn't really think about, but they somebody made one that set up a way to empty out cryptocurrency wallets.
That's awesome. I hope we can make a project out of that. That's great.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It was pretty impressive too that they managed to that they managed to embed it in there. And then basically what they did was people just love getting stuff for free. So they sent out these free NFTs from an anonymous benefactor.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
Well, I heard something last week on a podcast, a woman defending NFTs, and what she said, first thing I heard that made much sense, you could sell artwork and you could include code in the artwork that says, if it's later resold, I get 10% of all the resale value.
You could, but good luck enforcing that.
No, it's in the smart contract. It's in the NFT. So it should be enforced by the infallible blockchain, just like all the other glorious utopian stuff.
Sure,
Anyway.
totally. I'm sure that'll totally work every time.
Yeah, see, it should be all verified and everything, except for, in case somebody made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, anyway, I got to look into that one.
Yeah.
And so Kaitlyn has got state-backed hackers.
Yes, good news, everybody. We have some new state-backed hackers to look out for. Bleeping Computer has an article written by Bill Tollis talking about how there's a new state actor that's going by the name of Harvester, which was coined by Symantec, who discovered them. And they appear to be very advanced, and they focus on IT, telecom, and government entities in South Asia. So the number of threat actors are just increasing day by day. And once again, they're using Microsoft infrastructure for its command and control. It uses Microsoft infrastructure for its custom downloader, and uses Cobalt Strike, of course, for its beaconing and stuff like that, as well as Metasploit and a few other cool tricks. Now, they're not entirely sure all the 0 days they have. They apparently have some new 0 days. They're getting onto systems. They don't know how, but yeah, just new APT on the block. So
They're targeting Afghanistan. Is there something in Afghanistan worth hacking?
are there computers in Afghanistan?
I don't know. I really don't know what they've got right
Because
now.
if there is, it's worth hacking.
I think the whole culture, I think the whole government is just collapsing right now, and the economy and everything. Anyway,
Yeah, what a perfect time to hack stuff. Don't even get caught. No one's gonna go after you.
well, you probably won't get caught, but I wonder if there's anything worth stealing. Anyway, yeah. All right. Well, all right. And so Irvin's got something about the Mac. There was the new Mac event, right?
Yeah, the new Mac event happened on Monday, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, and one of the many things that they talked about was Monterey is rolling out on the 25th. So next week.
And why would anybody get it? Does it do anything good?
It does, it has a bunch of new features, like you can universally control all your devices with one mouse and keyboard and a bunch of other shenanigans. But as always,
Finally.
right?
I saw people saying the killer feature of the new Mac is they put the buttons back and they put the ports back.
Oh,
So-
yeah, for
like
the
Mac was
the
5
laptop.
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
the new
laptop.
laptops, it's like if they ever make Windows 12, it might be as good as Windows 7.
And they brought MagSafe back, which I was happy about.
Yeah, MagSafe is back. Oh, there's an HDMI port again.
Right. So basically the new Mac is like equal to the Mac from 5 years ago again, finally.
Yep.
Yeah, except this one has a stupid notch in the display, which I am not happy about.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It's amazing to me how these companies that are richer than any nation on earth can't get a design team that can actually add any good features. Instead, they just mess it up and then they quit messing it up and expect you to be grateful. You would think.
Yeah, my thinking is the next laptop after this will have that notch fixed.
Well, can't they get a focus group of Mac users and find out that everybody hates this stuff?
They're
And then
doing
there's
their own
Windows
internal
8.
shenanigans.
I mean, Microsoft and Apple have got all the money on earth and they can't design anything that makes any sense. It's pretty screwy.
I couldn't believe they ever got rid of MagSafe in the first place. I'm like, that's one of your greatest features. It keeps my dog from knocking the computer on the floor like once a day at least. But
Yeah.
then they got rid of it.
I know, I like it too. And they never have enough ports. So you always have to buy
Yeah.
a docking hub and carry a purse of dongles and,
Yep, that's still not over.
that irritate everybody. Anyway,
You know, I think I'm the only person that really appreciated when Mac moved to USB-C, because finally they were using open standards for all their stuff. Now, I do admit for the power, like the MagSafe is a good idea, and they could have found a way to implement that in USB-C, but they didn't.
Yes. Yeah, they make MagSafe adapters for USB-C.
Yeah, but now they're going back to a proprietary port for their MagSafe, and it's like,
Yeah.
really?
well,
Mhm.
I on my Twitter feed, people are excited. They're ordering them right now. They can't wait to get their new Mac. I'm not ordering one, but
No, I'm gonna stay with the one I have.
I got the previous M1 and it's pretty nice. I don't need a new one for a while.
Yeah, I haven't.
I
maxed
need
out.
a new one.
Oh, well, apparently this is the one to get.
Yeah, I need a new one and I was waiting for this one, but I'm dismayed by the notch. I'll probably just have to get it and live with it. But I think Irvin's right. They'll probably fix that by the next one because I think other people are going to be annoyed by it as well.
Yeah. You know, I would think that they would just hide the camera behind the screen.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
the notch just vanishes. But you know, what do I know?
They could just have a drone flying over your head taking pictures of you.
Oh, that too.
They do have that, I think.
That'd be cool.
Anyway,
Or they could have the camera extend from the back of the case upward and then slot back down in.
Oh, that just seems too below Apple.
yeah. Like,
I mean,
Something protruding out of their device. I don't see that.
no. But when it's not in use, it's inside the device. But when in use, it comes out
I
and up. And
don't
I
see Apple doing that.
because it's too good of an idea. That's why they won't do it.
I think it messes with their design of it looking like one solid piece.
yeah. All right. Anyway, so I'm back. So I thought this is awesome. NASA made this flight going out, Lucy, that's going to go boomerang past the Earth in a butterfly pattern and hit like 7 asteroids. And he wondered how they planned that, and he did it with one Excel spreadsheet. He put like all 750,000 asteroids that are known in Excel and predicted all their orbits and calculated which ones we were going to travel close to. And people say it's the biggest, most complicated Excel spreadsheet on Earth, but that's what he used. They said he could have used like some sophisticated NASA orbital calculating stuff, but that was too slow and it would have taken forever. He said Excel was the thing. It only took me 12 hours to cycle through all 750,000 asteroids and figure out which 7 we could hit. So,
You know, there are sometimes I wish some of the engineers at NASA would contact me because I could maybe point them in a maybe different direction.
but it worked. But other people say, I've never seen a monstrosity like this. You know, I've heard a lot of people say our entire company runs on this monstrosity of an Excel spreadsheet that nobody understands, that everybody that wrote this thing was fired 5 years ago and nobody ever dares touch it. It's pretty common. Anyway, all right. So NASA is doing that too. Anyway, so Liz has got the ransomware.
Yeah, so the government, U.S. government released a report saying that just in the first half of 2021, that they have tracked at least $590 million extracted as part of ransomware payments, which is really mind-blowing when you think about it. Comparatively last year, their stat was for the entire year was 416 million. So that's pretty impressive. And then they also said that total ransomware related financial activity may have reached more than 5.2 billion. So I don't know what that encompasses entirely, what the total ransomware related financial activity, but that's a pretty staggering amount.
Well, and nobody has much in the way of defenses.
No, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, you know, for a lot organizations, the best defense is, to set up, to make good backups, to set up mirrored systems for backups and stuff, but not everybody has the capability to do that. And then I had read about one situation where they'd done all of that correctly, but the attackers got access to their failover systems as well.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that case? You're totally hosed.
I would hate to imagine if you have like 1,000 employees running Windows laptops and you're telling them, don't click on bad links. What is the chance of that happening?
Right. And you can run interference to some degree, but there's just no 100% protecting your assets.
Well, yeah, anyway, I mean, of course, all the old stuff is good. Segment your network, have intrusion detection. So hopefully you catch it before it gets too far. But yeah, anyway, I think we're all pretty much sitting ducks right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Kaitlyn's got the Canon scanners.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on here. Bleeping Computer has an article by Bill Twillis again, talking about how people are upset for some reason because when they try to scan with their Canon printer scanner combo, it won't scan when it's, of course, out of ink because it does not have ink. Right. And people are upset about this. Yeah. And they're actually suing Canon over this for some reason.
Good.
Well,
and
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's a crime. It is annoying. It's sort of extortion, but anyway.
Well, no, but Canon says that if you try to operate the printer without ink cartridges, it could damage the printer. Like, for example, if you try to print black and white without color cartridges, it can damage the printer.
Well, now maybe you sue them for saying things like that because it doesn't sound true.
And but no, Canon's the manufacturer. They made it, and they're saying that you cannot scan with their printers unless it has ink. And by the way, you just because they care so much about you and your device, they make it so that you cannot, of course, buy like some cheap third-party ink. You have to get their first-party branded ink due to the digital rights management built right into the ink itself. How awesome is that?
Wait,
well, and you can pay 3 times the price for the
cartridge, but the ink.
Well, the cartridges they contain the ink. Yeah,
I mean that was in like Blade Runner. They put like a copyright on this in the genes in the cells. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they would if they could. Unfortunately, they're not that advanced yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you do have to get Canon based ink, and I don't know. People are just upset about this.
Yeah. These companies are really just not giving it up on the printer cartridges and the DRM.
Yeah, it's I expect no less from like HP and Canon. Yeah. I just got to a certain point in my life, and I'm joking aside, where I buy a new printer, the first thing I do is if I check to see if I can get knockoff toner or ink first before even thinking about buying the printer, because oh boy. And I gotta say, Brother has been pretty good about that. I have some old HP stuff which don't even work anymore, but the Brother stuff that I have can all be refilled with cheapo stuff. In fact, I have a special printer by Brother that's basically a plotter, and I actually just 3D printed some extensions to the plotter and just threw it in myself, and it works great. I mean, that's kind of what I expect from a printer nowadays. This DRM garbage, you got to buy our refills for no reason. It's just kind of silly.
We love to legislate here in California. We love to legislate everything all the time. And I would love to see some legislation come about that would say, well, guess what? You know what? You can't use these disposable plastic printer cartridges anymore. You got to sell ones that the consumer can refill with the syringe, because we're tired of these ending up in the landfill. It's an environmental disaster, not to mention consumer rights. So too bad, so sad. You've got to sell printers with user serviceable cartridges now.
See,
that's a good idea.
Yes, I mean, that's not a bad idea, but this kind of gets back to short-term profits versus long-term gains.
Yep.
So they don't obviously advertise on the box that you cannot use the printer or you can't use the scanner when it's out of ink. So people buy it and then they realize they've been bamboozled. And then you get into the position where I am in, where I just talked about, where I don't even look at other brands like HP anymore. I just, the first thing I do is I look to see if there's no DRM, in the printer, keeping me from doing my own refills or doing my own stuff with the printer before I do anything. And so, sure, they get their first, there's a sucker born every minute.
Yep.
They get them. And then that sucker wises up and they don't get that business, in the future.
Yeah.
Apparently it's.
Yeah, I have an HP right now. I'll never buy another HP ever again because of this.
Exactly.
Well, I haven't had a printer of any kind for 5 years. It's like a landline. It's like a relic of the past.
So
What is paper?
Sam, paper is freaking awesome. So I actually specifically got a printer not to print paper, but to print circuit boards.
Oh, well, now there's a reason.
Yes,
But I'm
you
not
see,
sure. That's a good reason. But I mean,
you
as far
see-
as printing on paper, I don't know why anybody would bother printing anything on paper anymore.
right. So what you do for PCBs is you use a laser printer to print toner onto a transfer,
Oh, yeah.
transfer it onto some copper. It's amazing. I also use it for arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Printers are amazing. The other good thing about printers is that a lot of people don't realize is that they are very precise. They're very precise. They have stepper motors. They're very precise. And what you can do is if you go into a program like Inkscape, you can make a sheet of paper with 2 holes that are exactly 3 centimeters, in diameter, that are like 10 centimeters apart, get some glue, put on some wood or something, and now you know exactly where to drill.
Oh, sure. Like making templates for other things.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So there's lots of uses for printers beyond just document printing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. All right. And Irvin will get you a piece of cloth for $20.
Yeah, Go Capitalism. A part of all the new stuff from Apple, besides an OS and a new laptop, you can buy a polishing cloth for $20.
There used to be something people sold called a ShamWow, which was pretty much the same thing, right? You get a rag.
Called a what?
A ShamWow.
Oh, yeah.
It was a rag. It was a rag, but I think it also cost $20.
Yeah. Apple branded ShamWow.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Presumably it's a good piece of cloth.
Well, like Kaitlyn just said, there is a sucker born every minute.
Yeah, pretty soon Apple's going to start selling stands to their monitors separate from their monitors for like $100 or $1,000. Who knows?
Oh, they would never do anything.
No, of course not. Capitalism wouldn't drive them to do that.
Yeah. Selling what for the monitors?
A stand.
The stands, a stand separate from the monitor for like $1,000.
Oh, I'm sure they would. Absolutely.
I can't imagine Apple actually doing that, but it seems like the logical next step.
Well, and apples are status symbols and jewelry and stuff. People have them just because they're beautiful and they can now show off that they have them,
What could go wrong?
Well, what's coming? I keep hearing about it is the Apple car. It's not here yet, but they say it's totally going to come and they're going to like wipe out Tesla and everybody will have to get an Apple car.
I somehow doubt the Apple car will. It is sort of like Android. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people with iOS, but Android is technically more popular.
Oh yeah, well, the Apple car will be very expensive, but probably very good. I think I'm probably not their target demographic.
Yeah, you may not be the target market, Sam.
Yeah, no, but I imagine that the great part of the Apple car is that you'll be forced to upgrade every 5 years to a new model.
Right.
And the windshield wiper will cost $20,
And it won't be, you won't be able to work on it yourself.
No, of course not.
You'll have to drive it to a Genius Bar to get serviced.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But anyway,
I bet it won't have the advanced endpoint protection that Sam's car has, though.
Well,
there's very few cars that have that.
You could arrange that, but
already thieves go out and they take their smartphones with the Bluetooth turned on and they look for signals from Bluetooth laptops in trunks. They're looking specifically for like MacBook Pros, which have that stupid Bluetooth sharing stuff on all the time. Now, thieves are already looking for Apple products in cars. Imagine what happens when you drive up with a Apple branded vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, thieves are just going to go wide-eyed and be like, oh, it's
They aren't
crazy.
even gonna need their handheld Bluetooth scanner. They're just be able to know that the trunk is loaded with MacBooks and iThings.
But it will have all kinds of Apple defense features like find my car and, remotely turn off my car and remotely send the Apple police to shoot these guys.
Yeah, make the stereo play Slayer or other annoying sounds.
But also keep in mind too, from a security perspective, never put those Apple stickers you get with Apple products on your car. Thieves look for those and will target cars with those Apple stickers on them.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's a good tip. Okay.
So yeah, don't leave your laptop in your car, even turned off, and never put Apple stickers on your car. That's bad news.
Oh.
A lot of my work involves about 50% of the time when actually I'd say 75% of the crime that I deal with in my job are thieves stealing laptops from cars. I mean, like not hackers getting into systems and everything. It's just like someone left their computer in their car and some thieves, victimize the poor people.
And this is why hopefully you encrypt your hard drive.
You would hope so, yes. If you're going to leave your laptop in your car for thieves to take, I really hope you encrypt your hard drive.
Also shut it down because you're less likely to be. They're less likely to be able to get into it if you shut it down. And
The problem is that Apple has obfuscated the shutdown process, so people think they closed the lid.
Yeah.
It's shut off. When it's not, of course, it's still on, it's still emitting stuff.
That's why I say shut it down.
Yeah, but people don't, you can't expect the average user to understand the difference between lid closed, looking like it's off, and it being actually like off. And you can't even like remove the battery to make sure it's off. There's no switch, to make sure it's off. And of course, I've had issues where I accidentally open the screen a little bit while the laptop's plugged in or something, and it kind of goes on its own and stuff. I mean, Apple's obfuscated the idea of on and off because it makes things so much easier never to know. It's Schrodinger's computer.
Well, I remember for the first 20 years I used computers, they were these big boxes with this big button, and they said, don't turn it off with the button, that will break it. And it was like 10 years before someone said to me, why did they put that button on there if you're not supposed to use that button? What idiot made this thing? And they kind of have a point. Anyway.
Right. At the same time, though, a lot of the early computers were really nice because if you wanted to shut them down and you weren't writing to the disk or doing anything and you would know when you were writing because they made a whole lot of noise. When you were done writing and the computer was quiet, you just push the button and it was just immediately off. None of this waiting, none of this, your program is waiting for you to say no, cancel, don't save or whatever. It just off immediately.
Well, all I remember is them arguing with me about that, everything back to MS-DOS and Windows 95 and everything. You press it and it doesn't really go off.
Oh, the old computers did go off. Those switches were connected to the power supply. Which is why if it was writing data to the disk and you switched it off, you would have sort of half written data and would mess everything up. And then of course, they still maintained that design when we started going to multi-process operating systems, multi-threaded operating systems. So now you have things in the background you didn't even know were running, opening files, reading, writing stuff, which then it became a big problem. But before then, when you had one computer and one piece of software running it at a time, it's not that big of a deal to have an off button. But
yeah, it was a golden age.
See, we should make computers just run DOS.
That's right. Well, some people get Commodore 64 emulators and stuff like that.
The thing about the Commodore 64 emulator is that because it's running on a ARM chip running a real operating system, there is only a soft button.
So you don't get the most desirable feature, turning it off.
Yes, I don't get the nice solid button. So
yeah. This is the problem of growing old. All you do is long for the good old days. Anyway.
Yeah, the good old days when all you needed was 640 kilobytes of RAM. No one needs any more than that.
Oh, well, I started, the first computer I got had 8K of RAM. And this encourages you to learn assembly code. That's what it does.
Yes.
And-
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for this one. And we'll be back on Friday. Assuming I can find the button.